Hey Yogi, welcome to this video. My name is Flo, thank you so much for watching, and I'm really excited to finally today explain, teach and break down handstand. This question comes up a lot. Please explain handstand, how to do handstand tutorial, handstand breakdown. Thank you so much for reaching out and asking for that video. It took a little bit to produce, but here it is, finally. I'm very excited to explain handstand to you today, but know that I can only explain so much in a video like this. If you teach privates, it's usually a process over weeks and months. If you teach our handstand workshop, it's usually at least 3 hours of explaining and breaking everything down. There's so much that goes into a handstand and goes into this pose. So I can only cover so much in this short video today. Now, if you want to deep dive into your handstand practice, we have created a full handstand program on our Patreon community. You can find the link in the description below. There's over 20 videos that are diving into all the little details you need to know about handstanding. It's hours of content to break it down into lessons, warm-ups, check-ins with the body on health of the wrist, the shoulders for example, exercise you can do to keep everything healthy, lots of drills on entries, on balances. Really, it's a deep dive. So it doesn't matter if you're new to handstand, completely new, no handstand experience, or if you already have a handstand practice. In that full program on Patreon, you will definitely bring your handstand to the next level. Just keep watching this video, see what you get out of this. But again, it's just a little glimpse into the world of handstanding. If you liked this and you want to support us and our channel and our mission of teaching the tools of yoga and everything that yoga has to offer to all the people in the world, head over to the Patreon community in the description below, support us there, and also learn how to handstand. The first thing I want to mention is that it's really important that your body is fully warmed up, especially your wrists need to be warmed up properly. I'm not going to guide you through a warm-up in this video. I assume that if you're following along or practicing after this video, that you're already warmed up and safe and good to go. If you don't know where to start to warm up, then you absolutely should be doing our yoga videos first on this channel to get familiar with your own body and your strength and build the strength and control that you need for this full body pose, which a handstand really is. I will also link a video down in the description below focusing on wrist warm-up. So there's going to be 10 or so exercises to warm up your wrists properly. Also talking about different areas and kinds of pain in the wrist. So check that out, watch that first if you hear this stuff for the first time. The first thing I want to cover is actually the hand, wrist and arm placement for your handstand. What I see a lot is that the hand placement is way too wide. So people, especially if they're new to handstand, want to come into it with the hands really wide apart. This feels very exaggerated for me, but a lot of people really want to do handstand like this with the hands really wide apart. Even like this is pretty wide. So the correct placement, in my opinion, in our opinion, as we teach it, as we practice it, as we have learned it and found the most benefit from it, is with the hands underneath the shoulders so that your middle finger aligns with the middle part, the midsection of your shoulder. So it's, for me, something like this. And if you come into this shape, it probably feels way too narrow, but this is actually where you want to be and where you have the maximum amount of control to balance and stay in your handstand. And it's also the most efficient position because the weight is going straight down through your body, through the legs, the hips, the shoulders, down into the inside part of your hands. So it's very important to keep the hands, the weight pushing down into the inside part of your hand, right between the index finger and the thumb. We stress this a lot in all of our classes, that basically any time your hands are on the mat, you should be pressing down the inside part of your hand, right between the index finger and the thumb. Really, really important. That way you bring most of the weight down through the inside part of your arm into the inside part of your hand, which makes this very stable and very safe and very strong. What you want to avoid is that the inside of the hand lifts up like this, so that you're tenting your hands, we call it, where there's a space, a gap underneath the first knuckle or the inside part of your hand, so that you could, for some people, almost slide your fingers underneath. If you do it this way, this puts a lot of pressure on the outside part of your wrist and will eventually give your wrist pain. It's very unstable to stay here. It's almost impossible to balance here, and you will completely mess up your wrist over time if you keep practicing like this. So you want to, anytime the hands are on the ground, and it's especially applies in a handstand, press down into the inside part of your hands. Very, very important. So take a moment to place your hands there. Maybe check with a mirror in front of you and make sure that the middle finger is right underneath the inside part of your shoulder. Now next is how far you have to rotate the hands out or in. And this is the same in plank pose, chaturanga, downward dog. It's all the same, and it really depends on your body and your proportions and anatomy of your wrists and hands. Generally, we say the middle finger should be pointing forward. That is the most stable and efficient shape and placement for most people. What also, if this doesn't feel good, what also helps is if you just come into a tabletop like this, or some kind of version of a tabletop, and you look into that hip crease, and it should be parallel to the front of the mat. So if you would rotate and place it correctly on your mat, you want that crease to be parallel to the front. So for some people, maybe for you, this means you have to rotate the hands a little bit more out, but it's very, very, very rare that you rotate it in. So it's mostly forward or out to the sides, just a tiny bit. It might feel a little bit new or awkward in the beginning to externally rotate the upper arm, but still push the inside part of the hand down, because you're basically doing this kind of motion and movement. But know that over time this will get better and you will get used to it. Now next, how much do I spread my fingers? A lot of instructors say to spread them as wide as possible, which really, if you do that, you lose lots of strength in your forearms, because the forearms, the extenders actually go through the wrist into the fingers, and so by spreading them too wide, you lose the strength of gripping with your fingertips into the hand, which you will need for a handstand, which is actually the only thing that will hold you in balance upside down in a handstand. So if you go too wide, it's no good. If you go too close, also not good. It's somewhere in between. Closer to if you were to high five someone. Usually, at least for me, I don't high five someone like this, and also not this. So you're like somewhere in between. So just like as if you would high five someone, that's usually how I put the hands down, so that the middle finger is right underneath the shoulder. So this would be the placement for me, and you will find the right one for you as well. The very first thing usually you do on your handstand journey, once you figured out the hand placement, is to do a handstand against the wall. If you're very new to coming upside down and you have never been on your hands before, this is a good way to practice being comfortable upside down and having all your weight on your hands. So in that case, you want to handstand against the wall to get familiar with that sensation, that feeling, also checking in with your strength, that you are strong enough to hold yourself upside down in a handstand. If you go upside down against the wall and you start to bend your arms because you cannot hold your handstand against a wall, you're not strong enough to work on a handstand. You need to focus more on basic strength so that you are able to hold your entire body weight upside down really against the wall with the arms straight, pushing the ground away. You really want to push away, and you should be able to do that first before you're working to a handstand. I know it's exciting when you're first starting out with yoga and you see people handstanding and you want to learn that too, but it's really important for your own safety and for your progress to have basic strength first before you practice any kind of handstands. So check out our videos here on this channel. They are very strong, most of them. There's also some gentle and easier ones. So if you want to work on strength and increase your strength, just do our classes on this channel. They will give you all the strength you need for a handstand. But no, it's not coming in a week. It might take weeks and months for you to build up that strength. So you can always come back to this video here or dive into the full program on Patreon whenever you're ready. But let's assume you are strong enough so that you can hold your body weight on your hands upside down. Then you absolutely want to go against a wall first if you're strong but new to handstands, to just see how that feels when you're coming upside down. In that case, let's not talk about any entries here yet. You just bring the hands down and you do a strong hop up against the wall until you hit the wall or your door or wherever you're practicing something stable. You will not fall, the wall is there, it's not going anywhere, so there's no reason for you to not kick up hard enough. The only restriction you might be feeling is only in your head, so you need to overcome that fear of holding back and falling. There's the wall, you can't fall, so kick up hard until you hit the wall. You do that with that hand placement I just described. You kick up hard, you hit the wall, you bring both feet to the wall, point the toes, and now you're here, you're upside down. And now you're like, okay, I'm doing this every day, I practice, I try to come away from the wall into a handstand, but somehow I'm falling all the time, I'm not getting my handstand right, and I'm always falling out of it, I can't hold it. Well, this is only good if you're very new to handstand, to get familiar with that feeling of being upside down. If you keep using the wall, you will never learn a handstand. It's just a simple truth that Brie and I believe in. If you keep practicing against the wall, never you will learn a handstand if you keep doing this drill. What you want to understand is true balance, what it means to balance, how to balance, and that means moving away from the wall. It also means you will fall, and there's the chance for you to fall out of a handstand because there's no wall. So it's very important to practice falling first thing and know how to fall. And this is something that Brie and I, we both practiced every day in the beginning, many years ago, every day for weeks or even for a month or two. We practiced falling every single day. So it's so second nature, you don't even have to think about it. Your body just falls always without you even thinking. It always lands on the feet. You're safe. You get back up and you try again. Because you will fall every day. Everyone that's hand balancing, no matter how advanced they are falling every single day. And so it's important to keep getting up onto the feet, falling safely, try again, have fun with it, and overall, after all, just be safe. It's very important. And you get up and try again. Now to fall first, before I go into the most important drill really of this video, you need to learn how to fall. The most important or the most accessible way to do that is from a downward dog. You start with a very casual downward dog, knees bent. What you want to do is you hop the feet off to one side, either right or left. You're actually practicing both. When you're falling out of a handstand, you never want to fall straight over. You want to fall to the right or to the left side. So you're doing half a cartwheel or like a round off to the side, and you practice that nice and easy, very low, very accessible entry from a downward dog, knees bent, and you're hopping low to the ground to one side. You always want to look where you want to fall to, where the feet should land. That's where you look first. You bend your knees. Now I'm starting with the right side. I'm looking to this point here. I hop my feet there. On the same side I'm hopping to or falling to, my hand is lifting up off the ground. Land on the feet, the hand is lifted, so it's not a lot on the wrists. That's why I lift the hand up, and you go back to a downward dog. You hop over to the left side, lift that hand up, you come back. You do this a couple more times, very low to the ground. Then you start to increase the height of that hop, so you go a little bit higher. You land, feet on the feet, all good. Other side, you land, all good. Now you want to go higher and higher and be really comfortable with this falling to the side. Let's do a little bit higher. You land, all good. Other side. You land on the feet. That hand lifts up. The wrist is safe. You're safe. It's all good. I recommend doing 5 for each height. So you start 5 on the right side, kind of low, and left side. So you do right, left, 5 each side, low to the ground, then a little bit higher, And then if you feel comfortable, a little bit higher. Every day for weeks and months until it's just second nature. Now to revisit the things we have covered so far, I know there's a lot of content in this program. It's very, very dense, but again, I'm just on the surface. To deep dive, you know where to find it now. So we covered the hand placement, how wide apart, how much to rotate the hands, how wide to spread the fingers. I recommended you to come against the wall if you're new to it, but you also know now the limitations. You will never learn to balance freely on your own if you're using the wall, coming against the wall. You also train really bad habits, always coming into a banana back, and that kind of backbendy looking back. It's just a very unstable, also not so good for your back position. And if you keep doing this over really months and some people years, you train really bad habits and conditioning to always come into this banana back shape, and you eventually want to go to a really straight line handstand, right? So you will not get there by going against the wall. You also know now how to fall, how to learn how to fall, to what to drill, to practice, to get comfortable falling, because you understand that when you practice handstands, you will fall every single day. Now let's talk about balance in the handstand before we go into the next drill. I want you to stand up and feel this for yourself. You bring the feet together, big toes together, heels together. Keep the upper body fully engaged and stable. Then you start to shift forward. You lean forward. Very good. You shift back, lean back. Forward again and back. One more time forward and then hold it there. Now feel the toes. Notice what the toes are doing. The tips of the toes are pressing down into the ground. The toes are the only thing here right now that's preventing you from falling too far forward, right? So if you would relax your toes and you lean forward, you would probably do a step and come out of that balancing position that you were in. It's the same principle in the handstand. When you're upside down in a handstand, basically your hands are on the ground, so let's replace the toes and the feet with your hands. You're upside down in the middle of the room, so there's no wall in front of you. You want to lean forward enough so that you feel the weight mostly in the inside part of your hand, so where the first knuckles here, and especially the inside of your hand. And then when you lean more forward, you grip your fingertips into the ground. So the fingers are, in this case, your brakes. The fingers prevent you from falling too far forward. Just like the toes do when you're standing, it's the same principle. This is why it's so important that when you go against the wall, and to understand this limitation, when you go up against the wall and you want to come into balance into a handstand, so now I want to come into balance, so I'm leaning away from the wall and I fall out of it. Because here there's no fingers, there's nothing that's holding you in balance, there's nothing that's stopping you from falling over or from coming out of the handstand. There's nothing that keeps you in it. There's no fingers there that you can use as brakes. You will just fall out of it. Now, what we will do is we walk up the wall and then lean away from the wall with the legs apart. That split leg handstand shape. It's very important to revisit all the things, this kind of like checklist that you need to go through when you are in a handstand. You press the fingertips into the ground, the hands are as wide as the shoulders, you press into the inside part of the hand, write all these things down, it's a lot, and you have to keep practicing that for months and go through this checklist every single time you're upside down. Inside part of the hands, you externally rotate the upper arms. Make sure that the weight is going straight down into the inside part of the hand, really, really important. You're pushing the ground away, so you're not just hanging out there with the arms straight, you're actually pushing up, you're pushing your whole body weight up and away from the ground. You keep the core engaged, you squeeze the legs together, you point the toes, squeeze the legs, the toes, the feet together as well. You keep your glutes engaged and your tailbone tucked, so you're not in like this shape, you're keeping it tucked, so engage the glutes. That's all the pointers you want to go through for a straight leg handstand. So that final goal for now that we're working towards, straight leg handstand in the middle of the room. In that full program I have, the 20 video program, we actually deep dive into all of it And the goal of the program is to have you come into a handstand in the middle of the room and hold a straight leg handstand with the legs together for 1 minute. So I'm taking your hand and I'm guiding you along the way until you can do that shape for 1 minute. It's a long time, requires lots of strength, lots of balance, but I think I broke it down well enough for you to teach you all the little secrets and tricks you need to know. And of course you need to also work and practice pretty hard, but you can also practice the wrong things. It's not just that you practice handstands every day and then you will get it. If you practice the wrong drills and the wrong stuff, you actually move further away from that handstand than moving closer to that freestanding handstand, because you are training bad habits and you condition yourself for like bad form and bad habits. So you want to train and practice and repeat the right exercises that are very helpful to bring you closer to that freestanding 1 minute handstand hold in the middle of the room. Okay, so with the wall, you bring the hands down and you walk the feet up the wall and then you lean forward. So for now and probably for the next couple of months, I want you to focus on that split leg handstand. That's the absolute foundation you need to be able to hold for, I would say, 10 to 20 seconds first, before you even think of moving the legs together and coming into the straight leg handstand. So we will isolate that drill now, and this drill is what we call the bread and butter drill. It's the most important drill, we think, to teach you balance and really understand what it means to balance on your hands in your body. You know how to fall now, so we're leaving the wall. It's scary in the beginning, but this is why it's so important that you practice falling so much that it's automatically, and you just land on the feet, get back up and try again, and you're all good. Now for that drill, hands down. There's different philosophies on this. Some people say arm length apart, some people say a leg length apart. I think you just need to find something that works for you. For me, usually it works best to have an arm length apart, and maybe for you as well. So give that a try first before you go and try out closer or further away from the wall. Know that the further away you go, the more you have to lean. So you might even be so far away that you cannot even enter into a freestanding handstand because you cannot lean that much. If you're too close, then that means if you're just leaning a little bit forward, you will most likely already go over and fall. So it's somewhere in between, just like with lots of things with this handstand, it's like about that balance point in the middle. One arm length apart, look to the feet, you place the hands there, and you walk the feet up the wall. Now this is again a good test for your strength, if you can even hold yourself up here. If not, then you're not ready for handstands yet. You gotta keep working on your basic strength. You bring one foot away from the wall, point both feet, press into the inside part of your hands, feel the fingertips, push the ground away, keep the core engaged, the glutes engaged, open the shoulders up by moving the ears more to the upper arms, towards the biceps. Now nice and slow, you lean forward with that left leg, in my case right now, until the right leg floats up. Now I'm balancing. You feel it here, you push the ground away, and you try to stay there. You come back to the wall. Then you try again if you come out of it. Slowly, slowly, now you're balancing. Hold, breathe, come back to the wall. Let's try it one more time. And maybe now you fall. And you land on the feet, you come out of it. So because you know how to fall, this drill is now accessible for you. If you come too far forward, you round off to the side, land on the feet, try again. If you're not leaning enough forward, you come back to the wall and you try again. If you have someone that you can work with, have a spotter stand in front of you and they hold your hips. When you come too far forward, they catch you, they hold you, then they push you back to the wall and you try again. The spotter is not trying to help you balance, they just catch you, push you back, you try again and reset, and then again. Or if you're by yourself, you just fall, land on the feet. This is the most important drill. Be patient with it. It takes really years, I would say, to develop a solid handstand, and you're just starting out. This is a drill you want to do every day just like the falling. And that's all in addition to your regular yoga practice or to your body weight practice. It's important to keep looking down to the ground. What I see a lot is that people, especially beginners, for some reason think they have to look through, and you would actually then look towards the wall. This makes it, 10, 20 times harder if you look towards the wall. This is a very advanced drill to shift your gaze and look and move your head while you're upside down. So don't look to the wall if you're new to handstand. Keep looking down to the ground. You want to look kind of below your hands, down to the ground, also not directly between your hands, because then you're tilting your head too much. It takes away from the balance and from that straight line handstand. It's easier to then banana back again. Keep looking down to the ground and keep repeating and practicing this drill. It's important to understand that balance is outside of your comfort zone. Balance is where it feels like you are falling, especially if you're new to handstand. Write this down. Balance is where it feels like you're falling. So you need to push your comfort zone just a tiny bit more. That point where you feel like, no, I can't lean more forward, otherwise I fall. That's exactly what you should be doing, because your balance and your handstand is rating right there around this corner. It's not much, most likely, just a tiny bit more. But it's outside of what you right now feel comfortable leaning forward into. That's where your handstand balance is. And so you need to be in this space, in this place more often, that you really understand what it means to balance on your hands using your fingers as brakes. Handstand is a full body pose. It takes, I would say, years to develop a solid handstand. And perhaps that journey to handstand starts for you today. Today might be the first day that you're trying out a handstand against the wall, and in a couple of weeks you go away from the wall and you keep practicing and repeating that for the upcoming months. Then there's more things you can work on, for example, entries into a handstand, which we did not cover in this video at all. There's a deep dive in Patreon community handstand program on different entries and more advanced balance drills to really make your balance super solid in a handstand. I think this is oftentimes overlooked, and people get too excited about coming into a handstand. They're thinking already of handstand press and floating from a downward dog into a handstand. Like, this is something you need to be able to do first before you can start working on all the entries. You need to have a sense of balance in a handstand first. That means you have to have that handstand first before you can work on coming into a handstand. If there's no handstand yet, then what are you coming into? What are you trying to press or hop or float into if there's no handstand at all? Keep working on that. This will keep you busy for a while so that you can hold this for, I would say, 10 to 20 seconds, leaning away from the wall, holding it for 10-20 seconds. That's a great milestone and a really good achievement on your handstand journey. If you then feel ready to deep dive and explore more and practice more with me, check out that program. I'll be waiting for you there, and whenever you're ready, I see you there. If you keep falling and it seems all very impossible to do and not accessible at all, and remind yourself why you're doing all of this. Why are you practicing handstands in the first place? Why do you want to learn them? In our philosophy of handstand, it's really just a pose like any other pose in yoga that we use to breathe and to be fully present, feel the body. With this specifically, it's also a really incredible skill physically that you have to learn, or that you will learn on this journey, where it really shows that you are putting in all the hours and repetitions and all the work to be able to do a handstand with your body. It's a really amazing skill. It's also teaching you to overcome fear, the fear of falling, the fear of not leaning forward enough and holding back there. It's teaching you to overcome that fear so that you can build and create this confidence for yourself, that you know that you can do it. By putting in the work, by pushing your comfort zone just a little bit more, you can do it. Thank you for watching. If you found this in any way useful, click this triangle here in the corner We made it very easy for you to subscribe and to support this channel. We really appreciate the love, the comments, the likes that you watched this video. Awesome job doing the practice. Just keep up the good work, be patient. Just like with everything in yoga, it's really all about patience. You're doing great. I see you in the next one. Namaste.
It's real.